All right, everybody, welcome back. As promised, we are doing a re-ranking, updated ranking, whatever you want to call it, of the Ozzy Osbourne discography. Of course, you know, he released his newest album last month, Patient Number 9, and I did a review for that and everything. Didn't say where I'd place or anything. I've had a lot of time to kind of digest this album, listen to it several times, and kind of figure out where I want to place this thing. And as always, you know, this stuff changes over time. So, you know, I've done the discography review and the ranking of Ozzy before. This was like a while ago. And, you know, things have definitely shifted around on here a little bit, besides even including the new album. And that's just kind of how it goes sometimes, you know. Which that's the beauty of it. You know, you maybe sometimes an album starts growing on you a little bit more. Maybe one or two of them kind of swap spots, and so that I definitely found that happening here. But so you know, you're not just going to get the exact same list with just Patient Number 9 slotted in, because it's changed. It's been quite some time since I've done, you know, since I did that video. But you know, with that being said, I also, last time I did the review or the ranking of all the Ozzy albums, I kind of showed off some of like the other stuff I have in him that's, you know, not included in the ranking, just cool other kind of albums and stuff, like Speak of the Devil. Gotta love that. Obviously, it's not getting ranked. But yeah, I figured I'd show this stuff again, you know, maybe just in case you didn't, I gained a lot of different new subscribers within that big gap of time here, so y'all can kind of check this out here if you didn't already watch that video. Speak of the Devil. One of my favorite live albums of all time. Love it, love it, love it. Brad Gillis on guitar from Night Ranger. Then you got, you know, the Ozman Cometh on here, which this is like a greatest hits kind of thing, but I mainly have it for like the bonus track, like Back on Earth, you know. There's like a No More Tears edit, radio edit, just some kind of different stuff, which is pretty cool. But that song, Back on Earth, is just kick-ass. I love that song. But with that being said, we got that knocked out of the way. I got my Mountain Dew to help my voice not go out while talking through this thing. Might be a little bit of a lengthy one. But, you know, with all of these albums, with all of Ozzy's albums, he's got, you know, quite a few of them. It's really, I forgot to kind of count exactly how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So he's got 13 albums here. And the only one I absolutely cannot stand and do not like, this isn't going to surprise anybody probably. This definitely stayed the same as the last time I ranked these. Number 13, Undercover. I mean, come on, man. I'm not the biggest cover album guy to begin with. That, you know, I don't mind. There's some of them that I'm okay with. But for the most part, when I hear that someone's dropping a cover album, I'm like, oh my God, you know, here we go. And I don't mind even cover songs. Like, sprinkle some of them, you know, on your, on your actual albums. Save some of these covers and put them in on your actual albums, like a lot of bands do. But for this, Ozzy didn't really need to. I'm glad he didn't put these on any of his albums, because they're just not that good. I mean, oh, the production's garbage, man. Jerry Cantrell's on guitar from Alice in Chains on this one. And, you know, he's an incredible guitar player. Love him. But, man, it just ain't working on here. There's something about his tone. It isn't, maybe they tried to dictate how he kind of went about it. I don't know. But this is just not good. This one came out 2005. His cover of Rocky Mountain Way, Joe Walsh, that's decent enough, you know. Mississippi Queen, I'll give him that. On the Mountain song, you know, the cover of Mississippi Queen, pretty damn cool sounding. And 21st Century Schizoid Man is pretty cool sounding. Cover of King Crimson. And I could say the same for probably Sympathy for the Devil, because that kind of sounds like an Ozzy song, you know, Prince of Darkness sort of thing. You know, of course, that's by Rolling Stones. But like a lot of this stuff, like, I don't want to hear him singing All the Young Dudes and For What It's Worth and Go Now. I mean, come on, man. Sunshine of Your Love, that wasn't that bad either. But I can't even tell. I've probably listened to this album twice, ever. So, and it was the first time I ever heard it, and then the time I was, you know, going through all the Ozzy albums and reviewing them and ranking them. So that should tell you about my relationship with this album. It's just, I think it's a terrible, terrible album. The production's awful. Ozzy didn't really sound that good on here. Nobody sounds good. Jerry Cantrell does not sound good on here. Like, just, there's something, they butchered his guitar tone or something on here. It just is not good. So yeah, there's that. That's pretty obvious. A lot of people don't rank that, but for me, that's a studio album that dropped. And this is where I got a lot of crazy comments last time, about this one. Yeah, that you're looking at it right. Number 12 for me is the very first album, Blizzard of Oz, and it's iconic. I think this is a great album. Literally all of these other ones I think are great. Like I said, the only one I can't stand is Undercover. Of course, came out in 1980 or 81. I think it was 80. Randy Rhoads. Need I say more? Just incredible legend. Sadly, he only could make it on 2 albums ever, studio albums. With this one, A Diary of a Madman, and his talk about guitar tone, his was killer. Just absolute one of my favorite guitar tones ever, and he's just the neoclassical stuff. He was really bringing that to the table on this thing. But yeah, this one ranks a lot lower. I know it's people love it and adore it to death, put it as their number 1, but quite frankly, for me, there's some of these tracks that are, I don't care to hear too often anymore because I've heard them so many times, like Crazy Train. I don't think it's a bad song. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, turn this off. But, that's not something if I'm going to listen to Ozzy, that's definitely not one I'm going to. Same with Mr. Crowley's pretty kick-ass though. That is a big hit as well, but that's a pretty kick-ass song. I love I Don't Know. That's one of the best songs off here. It probably is my favorite song off here. Really pretty breakdown, everything. Suicide Solution. I even enjoy Goodbye to Romance, the more kind of sappy ballad on here. It's when you get over to side 2 though, Mr. Crowley opens up side 2, but No Bone Movies, come on. That's not a very good song to me. Revelations, Mother Earth, it's alright. Steal Away the Night is okay. So it's really a top-heavy album for me. But even then, like I said on side 1, Crazy Train's on there that I'm just kind of like, alright, just we'll power through it. And D is on there, which I do like. It's kind of a pretty little interlude and everything. But that's about the extent of it. So with that, with it being so top-heavy and all your stuff, you're not suffering through side 2. These aren't terrible songs, but they just are pretty damn forgettable to me. And I've heard this album so many times, and I just don't. No Bone Movies is kind of like a corny, just basic song to me. That's probably my least favorite off here. I'll even take listening to Crazy Train over No Bone Movies, Revelations, and Steal Away the Night. Which, like I said, Crazy Train is not one I'd normally go to. So those 3 that I just listed are definitely ones I'm not going to. And I get, people, like I said, I know they just think it's so just revered as just one of the greatest albums of all time and everything, and I understand that. I mean, especially if you were growing up in that time and everything, and this thing dropped, and it would be just freaking, everybody be ecstatic about it and everything. But I've heard Crazy Train so many times. Same with Mr. Crowley, but I can still really dig Mr. Crowley, and then that side 2. But if you would rather have it as number 1, then that's great, man. Everybody, we all can rank and like this stuff differently. But that's definitely, we knocked that one out. That is always a controversy with me with the Ozzy stuff. People are like, what, Blizzard? And like I said, I do think Blizzard's a great album. But then we've got number 11 here with Black Rain. This one kind of dropped down a spot or 2. I really like how heavy this album is. The production, I'm not too big on. It's kind of like the bass. It's got some cool moments, but it's got kind of a weird tone to it, the bass tone. I can't remember exactly who's playing bass on this one. But this is the last one with Zakk Wylde until, of course, the new album. And I love stuff like Not Going Away. I Don't Want to Stop is a fun, pump up track. Black Rain and what was it? Yeah, Black Rain and Countdown's Begun sound so similar. And I do like both those songs. In particular, Countdown's Begun is one of the best songs off here. Almighty Dollar has got to be the best one off here. That is such a kick-ass song. Even though that does have that kind of that weird little bass tone thing going on, it doesn't ruin the experience for the album for me. I even like Lay Your World on Me, the ballad. It's a really pretty ballad and everything. But then, Here For You, that ballad doesn't really do it too much for me. Civilized Universe, pretty cool. Trapdoor, I'm not too big on. 11 Silver is all right. This one, it just kind of moved down a little bit. I mean, it does kind of sound... You get a lot of the same, like I just said, Black Rain and Countdown's Begun sound very, very similar. And there is that kind of sameness kind of on several of these songs, at least kind of the overall sound of the album. Not a lot of variety in the songwriting process. It seems, because they all kind of have that. And even Ozzy himself said that it was sounding too much like Black Label Society. I do see what he's talking about. And I love Black Label Society, don't get me wrong. But, this one is Black Rain, Black Label Society, right? No, but, so that's why I totally get why he wanted to maybe step away from Zach for a while, But that did kind of make it sound less like an Ozzy album. But the props I will give it is one of his heaviest, for sure. All right, number 10. This one moved up. I think I had these swapped spaces for the last video I did for ranking these with Black Rain and number Down to Earth here, number 13, 12, 11. Yeah, this is number 10. So number 10 is Down to Earth, and this one always just kind of fluctuates with me as far as the rankings go. I do love it. I love Down to Earth. Came out in 2001. Had a really cool sound on it. I really dig the production on it and everything. Sounds really modern and clean. Gets Me Through is an awesome opener. Facing Hell is one of his best damn songs, period. That riff is killer. Dreamer, that one, it's catchy and everything, but it's kind of corny, a little bit, and it's just not my favorite of his ballads. I love That I Never Had. That's my favorite song off here, period. Love that just kind of quick and fast-paced Ozzy. Junkies, Kick-Ass. Can You Hear Them as a really cool breakdown, everything. Really like that one. Black Illusion is such a cool one, too. It has some really cool lyrics. But, I love this album. And this one of Black Rain, they fluctuate. They swap spots with me. At least I think, if I'm remembering correctly, from the last video, ranking these for a year or so ago. But this one kind of goes up to me because it does have... the reason I put this one over Black Rain this time is because it definitely has more variety going on with it. More different kind of themes, but not sounding like it's all over the place or anything. And it's just, there's consistently, better songs, I think, on here. I think overall, the songs on here outweigh the best of what Black Rain has on it. Even though you got your Dreamer, and that little... And see, I even kind of like the little... what is it? Part 1, even though there was never a part 2. That little interlude thing kind of reminds me of D off Blizzard of Oz. So I kind of like that too. And Dreamer, I don't hate it, right? But it's definitely not something I'm like, all right, it's time to put on some Ozzy. Let's put on Dreamer. It's one of my least... And I love a lot of Ozzy ballads. Love them. That's one of my least favorites, so. I don't know what it is. Just the lyrics are just kind of corny to me. But I think this is a great album. And it fluctuates with me. Like, there'll be times where I'm like, man, this thing is just fucking, it needs to go up, man. In the rankings for me. And then, there was like the last time where I went through all the Ozzy albums again. And I kind of had Black Rain, was vibe more with that. That heaviness kind of was there. But this one's got some heavy, heavy moments on it too. So there's that. For number 10, Down to Earth. Number 9, we're going to go with Ordinary Man. And I can't remember where exactly I put this one. I know it was pretty low compared to what I initially thought about this album. Whenever this thing first came out, and this album does hold a special place for me. I was so hyped when Ozzy dropped that first single, Under the Graveyard, back in late 2019, I think. And I love that song. I still think that's probably the best damn song off here. Such a cool kind of creepy vibe to it and everything. But you get the guitar tone for Andrew Watt since he's the main, or he is, he's the main guitar player on here. And I don't mind him kind of doing some of the backup rhythm stuff primarily on the new album. But on here, like, because I'm not a fan of his guitar tone. It sounds like it's too, like, trying too hard to be distorted in a weird way. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. The kind of weird, it's just a weird way to, I don't really know how to describe it, but I just don't like Andrew Watt's guitar tone. I think he's a fine guitar player and everything. And I like the production on here. It does feel clean and, modern. But this one, overall, it is really short. That It's a Raid song that features Post Malone on it. That one, it's a fun song and everything, but my God, dude, it's like they purposely, and I'm sure they did purposely, produced it terribly to make it sound like it's classic, but it hurts. Try turning that thing all the way up in the car, and it's not, it's like they pressed it too much. But you do get stuff like Straight to Hell, and I love that one. All My Life, Goodbye's like a Sabbathy kind of tune. Ordinary Man that features Elton John, that's a ballad of Ozzy's that I absolutely love. Very powerful one. I love Eat Me. That's become one of my favorites. That cool little bass groove on it. Today's the End is a really cool dark one. Scary Little Green Men, such a fun track. Holy for Tonight's another ballad that I really like. Kind of a morbid, dark ballad, and I think that should have closed out the thing. Maybe had It's a Raid like a bonus track or something, because that one definitely is my least favorite song off here. And I don't count the Take What You Want or whatever it even says right there, bonus track. But this one definitely has over the years, even though it's not been that long, only 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now that it released, it's gone down in my rankings, I think, as far as, or it may have even gone up since the last time I ranked these. I think I may have had those other two above it. But I do think, and I don't want to sound like I'm dogging on this thing. I'm just kind of saying why it's dropped. Because I used to have it ranked way higher up there because I was just so excited, got on the hype train when this thing dropped. But it's dropped mainly because, for one, it is really short and kind of to the point and everything. But it does have a great variety. And those songs, like I said, Under the Graveyard, it's one of the best damn songs I think he's ever done. I think Straight to Hell's a great opener. Like, all the songs are really, really strong on there, besides It's a Raid. And I think it was just really cool to hear Ozzy in this big-time modern. 2010 was modern, but then 10 years later, the production and stuff has really evolved even more. And so it's really cool hearing him in this light and everything. So that's why that one's going to be sitting right there. Number 8, Bark at the Moon. This is one I used to rank quite a bit higher as well. Get a drink here real quick. But, it kind of has for me, it's one of those things kind of like with Blizzard of Oz, where some of the tracks, the kind of weaker ones on here, do kind of weigh it down just a little bit. But as opposed to Blizzard of Oz, I mean, this one's quite a few spaces above it. I think the great songs on here far outweigh, they definitely make up more for the ones that are kind of mediocre for me. And it is kind of another top heavy one. You do get some kind of, well, really I'm looking at it now and it's like, the only one I'm kind of like, on is Center of Eternity. And that one's really not my favorite off here. Because I even like the So Tired, kind of ballad. But, I mean, the title track, come on, man. That's one of the best damn riffs of all time with Jakey Lee. You're No Different. Love that kind of ballady one. Such a cool one. Now You See It, Now You Don't. Another really cool riff. Rock and Roll Rebel. Waiting for Darkness is probably my favorite off here. Like, no doubt in my mind. And I like Slow Down. It's pretty fun. But there's just, this one definitely has dropped over the years for me. And it is, maybe I was thinking, because it's just that one song really that I'm not the biggest fan of, Center of Eternity. But, and Rock and Roll Rebel is not one of my favorites off here either, but I do really like that one nonetheless. And this is a great album. Again, I'm not trying to dog on any of these except Undercover, right? But I'm just kind of pointing out why, these particular ones are falling lower than some of the others. But this, I do totally dig Ozzy's voice on here. Jake E. Lee made an awesome debut right here. Again, I mean, Waiting for Darkness, one of my favorite Ozzy songs ever. Same with You're No Different, Now You See It. I mean, this is just some great stuff right here. And that's why I put it above all of those right there. I just think the ones above this have grown on me more over time and everything. All right. So number 7. We're going to go with Scream. And this album gets a lot of hate that I think is kind of unnecessary, at least in my opinion. But, you know, I could see where some people could maybe not dig some of these songs on here. But my God, this one has grown on me more and more as time has gone on. Let Me Hear You Scream, the kind of title track, you know. It's, that's probably one of my least favorites off here. But Let It Die, that opens up, such a cool one, man. It has a cool breakdown and everything. Soul Sucker's badass. Life Won't Wait is really pretty and really kind of an uplifting track. Digging Me Down has got one of them classic Ozzy breakdowns, cool riff. I love Crucify. The lyrics are really cool and wicked. Fearless. Time is probably one of my least favorites as well. I Love You All isn't really a song, right? Just kind of like a mini thing or whatever. I Want It More. I love that one. Latimer's Mercy. You know, these are all just awesome freaking songs that I think. Yeah, I think Gus G. This was the only album he was on with Ozzy. Did a hell of a job. It was really fresh to hear him on it after having Zach for all those years and everything. It was really fresh to hear. Kind of a different player. You know, really fast and technical player. I like Zach Wilde better as a guitar player, but Gus G is definitely. I mean, he's awesome, and it definitely led to some different kind of songwriting choices, you know, with Black Rain kind of leaning more into that Black Label Society kind of vibe. This one really sounds more like an Ozzy album to me. And, you know, this one, I mean, like I said, Soul Sucker, Digging Me Down, I mean, these are some heavy freaking tracks with some killer solos and riffs on them. I love I Want It More. Really hooky choruses and everything in here. And it's one that's definitely grown on me. I mean, used to, like after the first time I ever heard this years ago, I mean, it ranked pretty damn low. But like, the more and more, again, just I've listened to it, I'm like, my God, this is really freaking good. Like I used to have Ordinary Man over this thing. And, you know, I think now I'm like, man, I don't really see how. But this thing is just, I think it's a really underrated record. Now the album cover is pretty shit. You know, you get it on like digital, like on Spotify or something, and it's actually got the Ozzy logo on it. This just looks like some dude standing, you know, Ozzy just standing in the mountain, like, what the hell? But, yeah, let's see here. Get this situated. Number 6. This is where we get in some really tough territory for me. I'm going to have to go with Osmosis. This one has only grown on me over time as well. And I remember, you know, kind of used to thinking there were too many ballads on here, mainly just because the ballads definitely stand out and are big. But really, it's pretty balanced. I mean, you get big bangers like Perry Mason. Thunder Underground is heavy as all get out, man. Tomorrow, My Jekyll Doesn't Hide. I mean, those are some heavy hitting ones. Then you get it mixed in with, you know, I Just Want You, which is kind of a ballad. I don't really know. I love it. Great when you get Rick Wakeman on the keys here, you know, and even Geezer Butler from Sabbath on bass. He does a fantastic job. Of course, Zach Wilde. See You on the Other Side is kind of a ballad. Well, yeah, that pretty much is a straight up ballad, but I love that song. I think it's got kind of a dark, kind of mysterious kind of vibe to it with the watery kind of Zach Wilde guitar tone. So I love that song. Denial is one of my least favorites off here. Same with, maybe, I see kind of why I was thinking that now, because Old LA Tonight and My Little Man are some of my least favorites off here. I do love Ghost Behind My Eyes. That one's more of a ballad too. That's a really cool one though. But, you know, with stuff like Tomorrow, My Jekyll Doesn't Hide, and Thunder Underground, those are fantastic Ozzy songs and some of my favorites that I go to often. The production is killer on here too. some of his best production, period, on any of his albums. Because, I mean, hell, it followed up, No More Tears, which is another fantastically produced album. So this one is it's an incredible album. It's also grown on me as time's gone on, because it does, and when you look at it here, it does kind of pace out you get Perry Mason and I Just Want You, then the ballad goes Behind My Eyes, Thunder Underground Heavy, then See You on the Other Side. So it paces them out pretty well, and I think it's a pretty balanced album. I was just kind of thinking more of, mainly because kind of at the end you get the My Little Man, Old L.A. Tonight, and Denial is, again, one of my least favorites off here, which isn't really a ballad, but those three kind of grouped over near the end kind of take away from it a little bit for me. But My Jekyll Doesn't Hide is the second to last track on there, so that one kind of pumps it back up. And so many tracks in a row are great off here. Love Osmosis. It's become one of my favorites. I mean, hell, it's sitting up here at number 6. So, top 5, guys. We're getting even crazier here. We're going to go with No Rest for the Wicked. This one, also one that holds a special place in my heart here. The last Ozzy album of the 80s, Miracle Man. What a killer riff, man. One of Zach's best riffs. This is Zakk Wylde's, of course, his first album with Ozzy. Devil's Daughter. Crazy Babies, kind of a fun one. Breaking All the Rules, heavy as all get out. One of my favorites. Bloodbath in Paradise, another one of my favorites. You got Fire in the Sky, probably my favorite off here. Kind of an epic, grand one. I love the synths on this thing. Tattooed Dancer's fun. Demon Alcohol, which Demon Alcohol is probably my least favorite off here, but I do really like that one. Just fantastic album, front to back. Just incredibly produced. This is, again, the precursor to No More Tears, so they were getting that production, nailing it, getting prepped up for it, and did a great job here with how it was produced and everything. This is another one where, and this was like my number 3 before, guys, so this one did kind of went like 2 spots down, and I think that it kind of did that mainly because there isn't as much variety here. It is kind of, for the most part, one note of the kind of type of tracks you're getting here, which, again, I don't have a problem with. Look, it's number 5. I love all those tracks I listed. I love every song on here. They're all fantastic, classic Ozzy tracks to me. But I think maybe, I honestly think that if you put the 2 bonus tracks, Hero and The Liar, which I don't count because they're bonus tracks, you put them things on the actual release, we might be talking this thing getting bumped up a little bit. No joke. But I think because of that, those aren't off there. Those are on there, and because there is kind of a similar pacing throughout this thing, where I think you could maybe sprinkle in, The Liar being the final track, and maybe Hero going in between like Crazy Babies and Breaking All the Rules to kind of break up some of the monotony. I think could really help this album get lifted up even higher. But I think this one doesn't really get talked about a lot, though, this album. I think it's pretty underrated. But it's a fantastic record. No doubt in my mind is one of my favorites. Top 5 right here. So, number 4. This is why we had to do this video as an updated ranking. I know it's going to be crazy, but I'm putting Patient number 9 up here at number 4. That's right, guys. This thing has really touched me that much, and really, it's just, what an incredible album. And I know, Ozzy's getting older and is having some more help in the studio vocally and everything. I don't even care, man. These are incredible songs. And you talk about variety. You get stuff like the title track is just fucking phenomenal. With Jeff Beck on there. You have a cast of these guitar players here that really elevate this thing, but it doesn't sound too all over the place. It sounds all like a true album. Immortal with Mike McCready. Parasite's probably my favorite off here with Zakk Wylde. So good to hear him back playing with Ozzy, because I think, especially after taking over a 10-year break in the studio from each other, you get him back and he's whipping out freaking classic tracks. Almost makes me be like, hey, how about the next one? Just play with Zakk, No Escape From Now with Tony Iommi from Sabbath, of course. That's such a cool kind of proggy kind of tune. One of Those Days with Eric Clapton is so hooky, man. A Thousand Shades, one of my least favorites off here, but I love it. Jeff Beck, really cool. Great solo from Beck. Mr. Darkness has got Diary of a Madman vibes all over it, man, which is also a Zakk Wylde one. Same with Nothing Feels Right. Another favorite of mine. Such a powerful tune that is, again, Zakk Wylde. And with Evil Shuffle, Zakk Wylde's on that one, and it's one of my favorites. Degradation Rules, man, with Tony Iommi. Dead and Gone, God Only Knows. You close out with Dark Side Blues, which is just kind of like a, an epilogue kind of tune. Not really a full song. I'd say my least favorites on here, though, are God Only Knows and A Thousand Shades, the ballads, even though I think they are solid. I'll take those two ballads over Dreamer any day. Or over, I don't know, whatever. My Little Man, Old LA Tonight. I'll take these over those any day of the week. So they're awesome songs. But, man, just the production on this thing was killer. It sounded like everybody on here was having an absolute blast playing on this thing. And, and it shows because of, the way, and again, the variety on here. You have those epic kind of length ones like Patient Number 9 and No Escape From Now. Then you get kind of those just quick to the point riffers like Immortal and Degradation Rules and Parasite. Then like epics, another epic, Mr. Darkness with its whole Diary of a Madman thing. And then those ballads I just talked about. So there's just so much variety on here and incredible songwriting. I think Ozzy sounds so much healthier on this one than he did on Ordinary Man. And it's definitely become one of my favorite Ozzy albums of all time. And I know it's going to be like, oh, people may think it's just because it's the new one. And maybe it is. That's kind of what happened with Ordinary Man to me. It kind of dropped down over the years. But as of right now, of recording this is where this one lies for me. And I don't think I personally don't think that this one is going to drop down too much over the years. Kind of like Ordinary Man did. Because I think there's so much here. So it feels so much more of a full album that it's just blast every time you're getting. Oh my God, love it. You guys, if you want even more detail about it and everything, you can watch my review for this Patient Number 9, this new one. Just love it. Love it. And I'm really excited to see where you guys think this one ranks. Then we're going with number 4. Hold up. I'm sorry, number 3. The Ultimate Sin. This one, I think, stayed right in its spot. Or no, because I think I had No Rest for the Wicked over it, but it jumped up. This one is a very special place in my heart, man. I remember blasting this thing in my sophomore year of college, just all the time, man. Lightning Strikes, Killer of Giants, the title track, even Shot in the Dark, the big hit off here. I love it. I even love, Never Know Why, and Never is such a cool one, too. Thank God for the Bomb. I mean, there's just not a bad track on here, man. And I think this one has gotten much more love over the years than it used to, because it does kind of have that 80s glaminess to it, but not too much, to me at least. I think the most time you get it is, with And Never Know Why, when, we rock, that's about the most kind of corny glammy you get on it. And that kind of is one of my least favorites on here. But Killer of Giants is one of the most epic tunes. I love Randy Castillo on the drums, who, sadly passed away, years ago. And he was also on, No More Tears, No Rest for the Wicked, all that stuff. And this was his first one with the band, and he showed what he was about. Jakey Lee up in here with his last album with the band, shredding, coming up with some of the best riffs I think he ever has. I mean, one of my favorite albums of, 1986. Period. I mean, when I think of that year, this one of them albums pops up for me. Love this album. Love the cool art. It's even on my shirt I'm wearing here tonight. But this one is just like a timeless one to me. I don't see it fluctuating too much over the years. Again, I mean, hell, it ranked up from the last time I ranked these. So it's just this is always one of them albums I can come back to and just have an absolute blast with and be like, yeah, man, that's a great thing about this stuff. It's like you can kind of recall your time in your life, whenever you were listening to an album a lot and everything, and maybe discovering everything. But just love Ultimate Sin. And these two right here, they did stay the same, gang. Number 2 for me is Diary of a Madman. My God, this one has been my number 1 before. several times. I mean, Over the Mountain, Flying High Again, You Can't Kill Rock and Roll. It's got that cool acoustic kind of neoclassical thing going on. Believer's got a killer riff. Little Dolls, Tonight is kind of ballady, but not too much in your face. Got a really cool bass groove and piano. Sato, and one of my favorite Ozzy songs of all time, Diary of a Madman, the title track. Holy hell, what a beautiful, haunting tune. Randy Rhoads just gave it his all on this thing. And it's, damn shame we didn't get any more out of him because of, him passing away and everything so early on in his life. Not too long after this album, and on that tour and everything. But just every song off here. This was the first, this is probably my second Ozzy album I'd never listened to all the way through. I think No Rest for the Wicked was the first one I never heard all the way through. But this is just, my God, anytime you get this on, it just gets my blood pumping, man, with Over the Mountain. And again, even kind of the more maybe ballady kind of thing with Tonight. I love that song, man. I think it's such a cool song, really emotional tune. And even some of my least favorite ones, because Sato is one of my least favorites. I love that song, man. Love it. And Little Dolls is one of my least favorites, and I love it too. All of these are some of the best damn Ozzy songs ever. I love that riff in Believer. Randy Rhoads, this was like his magnum opus. And again, such a shame we didn't get more from him. But at least we got what we got. And this is one of the best albums of all time. Ozzy sounds great in here. Just perfect album, front to back, right here for me. But again, it stayed the same. Number one for me is No More Tears. This album to me is just, again, the variety with an Ozzy album. This has it all, man. This has got it all. You had an incredible lineup on here, man, with which Mike Inez, I think, did No More Tears, but, he's from Alice in Chains. That bass line on No More Tears, come on, man. Randy Castillo on drums, Zakk Wylde, and Ozzy, I think, was, doing incredible vocally at this time. Fantastic stuff here. And Bob Daisley on bass for the majority of it. And the production, man, I think this is one of the best produced albums ever. It's up there with Whitesnake 87 for me. Such a clean sound. Even in the heaviness here, like Mr. Tinker Train. My God, one of my favorite freaking Ozzy songs. Love the breakdown in it. I Don't Want to Change the World is a fun one. Mama, I'm Coming Home. That's a beautiful ballad, man. Beautiful ballad. Desire is kick-ass. Love that riff. Again, No More Tears. The title track is one of my favorite epic Ozzy tunes. Sin is such an underrated tune. Probably my favorite off here. No joke. The solo Zakk belts out on that. It's just absolutely insane. Hellraiser is one of my favorite freaking Ozzy tracks. That one gets me pumped. Time After Time is a pretty ballad. Zombie Stomp, another really underrated one. AVH is a fun one. That's probably my least favorite, though, off here. Road to Nowhere, beautiful, beautiful ballad he closed. And I think, this was going to be Ozzy's last album. We know how that worked out. Had so many after. But I think Road to Nowhere would have been a great song to close out his career. It's such a pretty tune, an emotional tune. There's a lot of emotion in this album. You can tell for him thinking it was going to be his last album, But one of my favorite albums of all time. When I think of, an album that has overall, which is why it's up here at number one, my favorite, the most of my favorite Ozzy tunes, it's just this one, man. It just is. And I just love the pacing of this thing. Everything, again, from the ballads to the heaviness to to that epic No More Tears, even to kind of the goofy stuff with Zombie Stomp. I think that's such an awesome song. Cool bass intro and everything. So yeah, guys, that is my number one. We did the updated ranking thing. I'm really, really excited to see where you guys have put Patient number 9. I've seen, because I've seen a lot of album reviews for it out there. I've not seen a lot of rankings for where people are putting it. So I'm really wanting to see kind of where some other people are ranking. We can talk about that down there in the comments. Talk about your rankings in general. Again, we've had a lot of new folks kind of come in here and chime in and everything and subscribe, which is awesome. So that's more people to kind of talk about this stuff with. We've had a lot more of you guys join and the subscribers list since whenever I first cover the Ozzy stuff. So I'd love to hear some of your guys' opinions too. And for you guys who did comment on that one, let's see if yours have changed and everything. And of course, guys, we got upcoming the Death album series review. Cannot wait for that. That's going to be a blast. Then we have the updated ranking of the Hellraiser series coming up. So we got some ranking stuff we're going to keep be pumping out here soon. Some more of these kind of lengthier ones because of, the rankings can take a minute. But they're so much freaking fun. Some of my favorite videos to do. And again, I love talking about this stuff down there in the comments. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment. Thanks.